Welcome to the Sibos podcast. So this podcast is dedicated to Sibos 2026, the conference where people shaping the future of global finance will get together to work out what's coming next. Each mini episode will dig into the conversations that are going to matter most in Miami this September, from the infrastructures powering faster, smarter payments to the more complex questions around AI, digital assets, and trust that are reshaping how markets really work. The podcast is designed to help spark your ideas and get you thinking before you sit down for your first session in September. Every year, thousands of people from banks, fintechs, market infrastructures, and regulators fly into one city for 4 days and try to figure out where global finance is heading. That's Sibos. This year, the destination is Miami, the Miami Beach Convention Center from September 28th to the 1st of October. It's Swift's flagship event, and we've been running since 1978, growing from a few hundred people in Brussels to well over 10,000 participants worldwide. The theme picked every year isn't just about branding. It's a signal of what the whole industry thinks matters most right now. And for 2026, that theme is Faster Payments and Smarter Markets, Digital Finance for AI-Driven Economies. So today, in about 10 minutes, I'm going to break down exactly what that means, what conversations you should expect to walk into, and why this theme is such a shift from previous years. Reflections on 2025. So if you listen back to the conversations that happened at Sibos 2025, AI showed up almost everywhere, but it clustered around three fairly practical concerns. Firstly, resilience. Payments executives kept coming back to the idea that AI's most important job isn't flashy, it's keeping systems propped up. Real-time monitoring, catching failings before they become outages. In a network where downtime simply isn't an option, that was framed as the baseline case for AI, rather than something more ambitious. Secondly, where AI should actually be pointed first. One recurring theme was that leaders were pushing back on the instinct to hand AI straight to customers. The more common advice was to start with employees, give relationship managers and advisors better qualified leads, and let client outcomes improve as a byproduct, rather than exposing clients to AI directly before trust and consistency were fully proven. And thirdly, efficiency at the transaction level. Automating manual reconciliation, catching fraud and compliance risk faster, and, a phrase that came up again and again, generative AI creating new value, not just cutting cost. Accounts payable and receivable reconciliation was one concrete example institutions were already running in production. But underneath all of that, there was one thread that speakers kept returning to almost cautiously: agentic AI. The idea that AI systems might soon execute tasks on behalf of a person or a company, so not just process and data, but acting as another employee. One speaker put it very well. Agentic AI doesn't just mean delegating boring work anymore, it means these systems start becoming advisors inside the decision-making process itself. And the consensus in the room was that this shift wasn't decades away, it was expected to move fast and to fundamentally change how banking decisions get made. So here's the through line into this year. Frankfurt in 2025 was still largely a conversation about AI making existing processes faster and safer. Resilience, efficiency, fraud detection, careful rollout to employees before customers. Agentic AI was the topic everyone flagged as coming, the one that felt slightly ahead of where the industry actually was. Miami's theme picks up exactly where that left off. Faster payments is essentially last year's conversation matured. The resilience and efficiency gains are now assumed groundwork. Smarter markets is this year's bet that the agentic conversation isn't hypothetical anymore, that AI agents acting semi-autonomously, negotiating with other agents, making judgment calls, move from the what's coming panel to the main stage. Why this theme and why now? So why this theme for Sibos 2026 and why now? Well, let's start with the why. Sibos themes tend to track the industry's anxiety of the moment. A few years ago, it was collaboration in a fragmented world. Last year, in Frankfurt, it was the next frontiers of global finance. This year, the anchor is AI. Specifically, what happens when artificial intelligence stops being a back-office efficiency tool and starts becoming an active participant in financial decision-making. The title itself has two halves, which basically map to two areas of the same story. Faster payments is the era we've mostly lived through already. Real-time domestic payment rails expanding into cross-border settlement, instant transfers becoming the default expectation. Smarter markets is where we're heading. A financial system where AI isn't just processing transactions faster, it's making judgment calls, pricing risk, allocating liquidity, and even negotiating with other AI systems on a company's behalf. So, as a participant, expect the program to be split roughly along that line. Sessions that are still very much about infrastructure and speed, and other sessions that are much more speculative about autonomy and intelligence. Faster payments, the infrastructure conversations. So let's take the faster payments half first, because it's the most concrete. You can expect deep dives on cross-border real-time payments. The industry's been steadily extending domestic instant payment systems into international corridors, and the ambition now is near instant settlement of cross-border flows, not just domestic ones. There's also going to be a lot of attention on scale. Analysts have projected digital wallet usage climbing past 5 billion users globally, and account-to-account transactions roughly tripling by the end of the decade. When you're talking about volumes like that, the conversation isn't, can we go faster anymore? It's, can the infrastructure survive going this fast, this often, for this many people? And of course, that pulls in interoperability. With so many different real-time rails, wallets, and standards operating side by side, expect sessions on how institutions connect systems that were never designed to talk to each other, and how data standards like ISO 20022 are being used to make that richer, more structured data usable across borders. So if you're a treasury or payments professional, this half of the program is your home base. Panels on liquidity management, FX execution, and the operational plumbing that makes instant actually reliable. Smarter markets, tokenization, and digital assets. And now to the second half, smarter markets. A big chunk of this is about how value itself is being represented. You can expect substantial airtime on tokenization, turning traditional assets into digital tokens that can move on shared ledgers in something close to real time. Alongside that, stablecoins and central bank digital currencies. Now, the adoption of stablecoins has been accelerating, particularly in North America, while other regions are exploring their own consortium-based approaches. Central banks, meanwhile, are still working through the more complex questions around issuing their own digital currencies. Expect Sibos to host genuinely open debate here. This isn't a settled topic, and you'll hear competing views on which model wins out. There's also a thread about market infrastructure providers experimenting with blockchain-based shared ledgers to modernize existing settlement rails, essentially trying to get the reliability of legacy systems with the speed and always-on nature of newer infrastructure. And the through line across all of it, markets are trying to become more programmable, value that can move, settle, and be verified continuously instead of on a batch schedule. The AI layer, agents, automation, and trust. So what about the AI layer? This is probably the part that most people are actually walking in curious about. How AI fits into all of this operationally, not just conceptually. So, two big strands. First, automation of the grinding high-volume work. Exception handling, reconciliation, fraud pattern detection, document and email triage. This is already happening across post-trade operations and payments, and it's the least controversial part of the AI conversation. The second strand is a little bit more provocative, agentic AI. The idea that a company's AI system and a bank's AI system might communicate directly with each other with minimal human involvement to handle things like short-term liquidity decisions or trade execution. You can expect real discussion of what's called agent-to-agent communication, essentially a protocol layer where AI agents identify themselves, describe what they're authorized to do, and negotiate with other agents. But here's the tension that every session on this topic keeps circling back to: trust and verification. If an AI agent shows up and says, "I'm authorized to act for this company," how does the receiving institution verify that claim? Now, that's not a hypothetical governance question anymore. It's an active design problem that the industry is trying to solve right now, and you should expect it to come up in nearly every AI-adjacent panel. Which naturally leads into resilience and security, fraud detection systems that use AI to spot anomalies in real time, and a broader conversation about what responsible AI looks like operationally, not just as a policy statement. Regulation, resilience, and the human question. No Sibos theme goes unchallenged by the regular conversation, and this year's won't be any different. You can expect sessions weighing how quickly institutions can adopt AI and tokenized infrastructure against how quickly regulatory frameworks can actually keep pace. Cross-border rules, compliance obligations, and where responsibility sits when an AI system makes the wrong call. But there's a workforce dimension too. Surveys of corporate treasurers have shown that a large majority of them expect AI to reshape their function within the next few years, which means Sibos conversations aren't only about technology, they're also about what skills finance professionals need to build now: risk modeling, forecasting, and decision-making alongside AI tools, and not instead of them. So the honest framing to walk in with: this year's theme isn't AI will fix finance. It's closer to the infrastructure for speed is mostly built, and now the harder, messier work is making markets genuinely intelligent, verifiably trustworthy, and still accountable to humans. Countdown to Sibos: what to expect in Miami. And there you go. To sum it up, if you're heading to Miami or joining us digitally, expect two intertwined conversations running throughout the whole week. One is operational and near-term: cross-border real-time payments, interoperability, and data standards. The other is more exploratory: tokenized markets, stablecoins, and AI agents that increasingly act on an institution's behalf. And you can expect the connective tissue between every session to be viewed through that same lens. How do we move faster without losing control? And how do we get smarter without losing trust? So that's the frame for Sibos 2026. Don't forget to check out the full program lineup on the app or at sibos.com. Thanks for listening. Tune in to episode 2 when we'll dive into digital assets as part of Sibos's Big Issue Debate series in Miami.